Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to my channel, and for all my new subscribers, I'm Natalia Suri and this is my channel. I do everything related to books, from author interviews to book reviews to book recommendations, plus my sessions with witches, tantrics, voodoo practitioners. You'll find all this on my channel. But today my guest is Damayanti Biswas. I'm going to talk to her about her book, Beneath Your Skin. Now, what is this book about? It's a literary crime thriller, a genre which is very rare to find in India. What is this genre and what inspired her to write this book? What is the book about? And many more questions. So come, let us talk to her. Hi, Damayanti. Thank you so much for joining in, and it's really a pleasure meeting you.
Lovely meeting you as well, Natalia. Thank you for having me, and it's really a pleasure to talk to you.
I'm really looking forward to talk to you about your book, Beneath Your Skin. You have placed this whole book in New Delhi. Now, I want to know why the capital. Does it have something to do with the Nirbhaya case? And you know, the capital is very labeled with certain types of crimes. So, why did you base the novel in Delhi?
So, You Beneath Your Skin started with Anjali Morgan, the protagonist, and she came to me, her voice came to me in Delhi, and I think I started writing the first draft in 2012, the beginning part of 2012. And you're right, by the time I had finished the draft, the Nirbhaya tragedy happened, which was the end of 2012, December, if you recall. So, of course, all the rage, the helplessness that I felt at that time, as all women felt, I think, at that time, and it was very close to who we were. Like, I would have walked those streets in Munirka. I would have, also gone out for a movie at 8 o'clock in the evening. So it really kind of resonated with me and kind of went into the novel. But Delhi also, because this novel cannot be set anywhere else, because of how the migrants labor moves in and out of Delhi every day, how people come in from Gurgaon, people come in from Noida, and the outskirts from UP, from Haryana, and that kind of creates a very unique situation. And also the police, if you know, Delhi police is not under the Delhi government, it is under the central government. So that kind of gives rise to very interesting situations and possibilities. So in a way, this novel could not have been set in, say, Kolkata or Mumbai, because the political situation, the situation with the police, and the situation with how crime occurs between various levels of society is very unique to Delhi. So yes, a little bit of it, of course, the Nirbhaya tragedy did impact it. But other than that, also, I would have always set it in New Delhi.
And what inspired you to write a literary crime novel? And if you could elucidate more on this genre, literary crime novel, because it's nothing which we find very common.
Uh, a literary crime novel is more or less a crime novel in which the emphasis is more also on the writing part of it, that it's carefully written. So it's not just space, space, space. It is also characters play a big part in it. So it's not as if the character becomes like a puppet of the plot. It is the character that drives the story. So You Beneath Your Skin, for example, is a why done it. It's not so much of a who done it. It's a novel that kind of examines the fringes of crime, the periphery of crime. It also examines the people who investigate the crime and people who are affected by the crime. So the families around it. So it's a complete 360-degree picture of the crime. So it's not just about solving it. And literary crime is not done often enough in India. I think Anita Nair does a fair bit of it, her Inspector Gowda series. Jerry Pinto with his Murder in Mahim. There are some authors who do historical kind of literary, like Abir Mukherjee. He writes these wonderful novels set in West Bengal. We have Madhulika Lidl, Sujata Masi, who kind of try to do crime, but also very much set in the milieu and in that place, in that setting and the characters. So when I started writing it, I did not set off saying, let me write a literary crime novel. I didn't even know I was writing a crime novel. It was only later then my mentor said, there are dead bodies, Damayanti, you're writing a crime novel. So that's when I woke up to it. Yeah. So a literary crime novel kind of happened. I decided on the genre after the whole thing was written, really.
And your protagonist has an affair with the police commissioner. Now, does it have something to do that, in our minds we have a certain image about the police, and so you involve this lady with an affair with the police commissioner because our mindset is that, I don't want to word it out, but we have a certain mindset about the police, which is not so good.
For me, Jatin Bhatt is a very individual character, and in You Beneath Your Skin, the affair, it's an illegitimate, it's an affair because he's married, she's not married, so it's kind of hidden, and they've had it for a long while, for 10 years. But for me, I did not kind of think of it as this is a typical police commissioner, or this is a typical police guy, or they have these kind of situations. I went from the character. So I saw Anjali, I saw who she was having an affair with, and that's how Jatin Bhatt was created. It was only later, after I had written the draft, that I went back to India for another research trip when I kind of interviewed a police commissioner. I interviewed an SHO, went and sat at a police station to get the feel of it. And then I kind of verified certain things, saying this happens or this doesn't happen. But it was not very conscious saying police is like this or this one is like this. Because for me, I would like to think that my characters may be true to type, but they don't come from type. So they begin as individuals, and if I research them well enough, then at least they are believable and plausible. They seem like real people.
And you include poet Ghalib in your work, in your book. There is a lot of poetry which you have included. Now, poetry with such a serious topic of which is pertaining to crime. Can you, talk about that a bit?
So Ghalib came with Jatin, really. Jatin's character he's a harsh man in some ways. He's very patriarchal, but then there's also a soft side to him. He's very protective about the people he loves. He kind of dotes upon his sister, his son, and so I needed this. The aspect of softness in him, and also probably in a way, poetry is the highest form, I feel, of writing and of language. And Ghalib kind of is able to say things in a very concise way, for which I would have written paragraphs, because Jatin's character changes a lot throughout. So he faces a lot of different challenges and some really shocking revelations that happen, because of which he kind of changes as a person. Who he was at the beginning of the novel is not who he is at the end of the novel. But if I wrote scenes upon scenes and paragraphs upon paragraphs on his internal transition, then in a crime novel that becomes very heavy and it brings the pace down. So in a crime novel, you do have to keep the reader turning the pages, even though you have to also focus on the character. So for me to bring depth and insight into Jatin's character, poetry was a very good medium, because these couplets kind of were picked at various stages. So the things he says in the beginning and the things he says in the end are very different. And Ghalib kind of says it for Jatin and for me.
Okay. And you think violence against women, which is the theme of your novel, is something which is rooted in the upbringing which mothers give to their sons?
I don't know whether violence against women is something about mother to son. Yes, it maybe in parts it is, but it is a patriarchal setup where for hundreds and thousands of years we've had a situation where men, by virtue of the fact that they were earning the living, they were the ones who were providers of families, so they became natural leaders in the course of evolution. And body strength wise also they're stronger than women, so kind of it evolved in that way. But and it kind of went into a situation where men had to keep women kind of in line within a certain boundary, if you will, so that they do not do things which kind of are not productive in a man's point of view. So all of it, I think, is kind of patriarchy that has gone on through the generations, and then women internalize this misogyny. So what they do is they remember that their mother thought that the husband should be fed first, and the brother should be fed first, and the father-in-law should be given more privileges. So what they do is, when they are bringing up their children, they kind of say to the girl that no, you must respect, you must obey, you must be seen but not heard, whereas they say to the boy that it's your right, you should be served first at the dining table, or you're the one who's going to earn money. And what it does is it harms both genders in the current scenario, because right now men and women both can earn their keep. If they want to have children, women can have children without the help from men. Test tube babies are a reality today. So in today's situation, I think violence against women grows even more, because I think there is a situation where men are not used to this new equation. We teach girls, be stronger, do this, you must study, you must be educated, but we don't teach our boys, girls are your equals, this is how to interact with girls, and give them that background. And that's not just the job of mothers, it's also the job of fathers, because then fathers set up the role model. And slowly, as we change as a society and make changes within the family, I think we will be able to reduce violence against women over the years. It's a problem that's come up over generations, so it's not going to go away in a hurry.
Absolutely. And who is a feminist according to you? And what is it? What is the term feminism according to you?
I get asked this a lot, because everybody calls You Beneath Your Skin a feminist novel. I don't know how much of that is true. For me, I feel feminism is about equal rights. So it's about a man and a woman walking through society, negotiating society on equal terms. A woman having the same rights to her own body that a man has, and the same right to move around in public spaces with the same degree of safety and confidence that a man should be able to, the same opportunities that a man gets and the same remuneration that he gets paid for it should also come to a woman, because we are asking for equality. So we are not saying women are better than men or men are better than women. We are just saying we are all human beings and we have to live together, and let us do it on terms of equality, because in the end, let's all respect each other as human beings. So for me, feminism, that's the kind of working definition of feminism. And there are loads of branches of feminism, but this is my personal view that feminism is equal rights. It's human rights. It's a human rights issue. As to a feminist novel, again, there would be a lot of discussion on what a feminist novel would be. People have a lot of questions about what a novel is at the end of the day. So to me, I would say a feminist novel is a novel that kind of engages with the issues of women. It kind of describes the lives of women. So not all novels about women are feminist novels. if it is written purely for the sake of entertainment, or if it is written in a way in which you do not engage with any of the issues or do not make any statement. So, where you are not talking about a woman's status in society, in politics, and you do not, or in the family, if you do not engage with any of these issues, then it is not a feminist novel, even if it could be about women. So, for example, Toni Morrison's Beloved is a feminist novel because it talks about women. Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale, the series that you would have seen, the yellow wallpaper, Charlotte Perkin, Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, Jeanette Winterson. These are feminist novels because they kind of, to me, they kind of engage with the issues that concern women in one way or the other, and they have something to say, like this is what it is, these are the kind of rights we believe in, or this is the kind of problems that women face. So when a novel engages with those, then it can be called a feminist novel, I think.
Lovely. You even give classes to aspiring writers. So my last question is, what would be your tip to an aspiring writer?
So this is a terrifying question because I think I don't think I would ever like to give somebody a tip saying this is set in stone. Please listen to this. This works for everyone. I think part of the writing process is finding out what works for you. So a lot of people say you must write every day, like it's written in stone. But write every day if it works for you. If it does not work for you, if you're more productive writing just on the weekends or writing once a month or whatever works for you is good. A lot of people say write what you know. So that's another thing which writers tell other aspiring writers. You must only write about what you know. I would say write what interests you, then find out more about it and engage with it. And maybe when you say write what you know, write about what you know emotionally. So you may not know about rape, for example, but all of us have kind of faced some kind of violence or the other in our lives. Even if they're micro violences, we have faced it. So then confront that emotion and bring the authenticity of that emotion. So in those terms, write what you know. So for me, I would kind of ask writers to tailor all advice according to themselves. So if somebody tells them show, don't tell, you have to figure out whether you are the sort of writer who needs to show everything on the page, or are you the sort of writer, maybe you're a literary writer who needs to tell certain things, you have certain ways of saying things, or maybe your narrative is all about that balance of show and tells. Personally, I find it a huge challenge to figure out which parts to show and which parts to tell, because in a crime novel, you don't know which comes on screen and which is off screen, why this is happening. So we just say in one line, or 20 years have happened, and then you just say, year 19, whatnot, and then you say year 2017. So that's telling, right? It's not showing, you're not going through all those years. So basically, my thing to writers would be take all advice, listen to all kinds of advice, write everything down, and then use only what works for you. There's nothing which is like the Bible or the Gita or the Quran. What works for you works for you. And you have to find that out.
Lovely, lovely. I love that advice which you have given, and I'm sure every aspiring writer out there is going to love that advice. Thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Hope it was useful, and thank you so much for having me.
So guys, I was in conversation with Damayanti Biswas. You have any questions, my email address is given below. And yes, don't forget to tune in my next video, which I'll be posting in very soon. You know what you need to do. You need to press that subscribe button, share, and like or not like is up to you. And yes, another thing before I go, I would like to share about my blog, www.nataliasuri.com. It is full of religious mysteries, plus my reviews on books and the funny me, which I really love. you will come to know about me. What do I think? What are I suffer from vampire hours. Now, how do I suffer from vampire hours, and how does that affect the economy of the world, and many more things. So do check out my blog www.nataliasuri.com. And yes, you know what you need to do. You need to keep smiling. Why? Because you look beautiful when you smile. So I'll see you soon in my next video, which I'll be posting in very soon. Take care of yourself and bye. Lots and lots of love. Bye.